Hey guys, welcome back to my home. No intro today, I'm just eager to get started. We're canning beef chipotle chili today, and then we're gonna head outside to plant more potatoes. I brought you along for planting potatoes last week and the week before that, but I'm doing a different method each time. Today we're gonna try out laundry basket potatoes because I've been wanting to give it a shot. So let me show you our ingredient lineup for the chili. I've got black beans here that I've been soaking for now more than 12 hours. You could also use pinto beans. We've got stew meat, salt and pepper, onions, peppers. These are from last year's garden. Tomatoes, also from last year. Chilies in adobo, and then some limes. We're gonna start with draining and rinsing these beans because I need to get them on the stove so they can boil for 40 minutes before we begin. So I'm going to start with the lid on because I need to bring these to a boil. While that boils, I'm just going to get started on some of my chopping. I often do my chopping the night before a canning day, but this is a small project. I'm not juggling multiple recipes, so I can do a little chopping today. It's nice, I have time. My mom takes my kids for one morning a week to give me space to do some canning and gardening projects without them. Of course, you know I do plenty with them, but all that to say, the house is really peaceful right now, so I really don't mind having as good a space to just get things done at a slightly slower and more peaceful pace. So those 2 onions worked out to be actually just barely 2 cups. It's a little scant. Next, I need a cup of peppers. You can do green or red bell peppers here. I just happen to have green. My little pepper plants have just sprouted. Peppers are always a seed that makes me really impatient. They're slower than tomatoes. And I always wonder if they're actually going to sprout. And then several days after I expect them to, I see them. So these can go back in the bag. I think this will run out before we have more coming from the garden, but that was almost a year's supply. All right, peppers and onions are ready. The last thing I'm going to chop is my chilies in adobo. I need a 1/3 cup. This is definitely going to be more than that. Oh! Guess the beans are boiling. Okay, the beans have definitely reached a boil. I'm going to turn the heat down now so that they can just simmer, and I'm going to set a timer for 40 minutes. And they're gonna simmer covered. I know that these chilies will make this a meal that my kids will not enjoy, but to me, it's still worth it to have good chili on our shelves. This will probably be something that John and I either eat for a hearty lunch or maybe for the occasional night when we give the kids mac and cheese and give ourselves something we want. So you can see how much is left. This will go into a bag, and that'll go into the freezer for some other time. The last bit of ingredient prep is squeezing my limes. I need a 1/4 cup of lime juice. I'm gonna give this a roll, loosen up those juices. If this was a water bath canning recipe and it called for lime juice, I would not use fresh limes. When water bath canning, if you see a recipe call for something acidic like lime juice or lemon juice or vinegar, that acidic juice is part of what's helping to safely preserve the food, and so it's important that you use bottled because the acidity level in bottled lime juice, lemon juice, and vinegar is controlled. Fresh is not controlled. Oof, that is a dry lime. Oh, what a disappointment. Okay, we are definitely going to need some bottled stuff, but I'll get what I can out of this. This is what I get for doing grocery order pickup. I know that you don't get the same quality when you don't pick it out yourself, but I just cannot resist that convenience. Well, this is a good half. Okay. Close. Top it off with bottled stuff. All right, all my ingredients are prepped. Beans are still boiling, so I'm gonna prep my jars for canning, and then I'll start browning my meat. I'm gonna can this in quart jars, so I think it'll add up to about 4 quart jars. For some reason, the recipe only specifies pint jars, and that's just not helpful for my family. Even though my kids aren't gonna eat this, even just for John and I don't wanna open up a pint jar of something. We're just gonna be disappointed that there's not enough. So we're gonna do quarts. I think this will add up to about 4 quart jars. I'm just loading jars into my canner to warm them for canning. If you want a detailed guide on how to use the canner to warm your jars, I'm attaching a video here of canning chickpeas. You'll see a more thorough step-by-step guide on using the canner in that video. So I'm just preparing my stew meat for browning. It needs salt and pepper. I like salt, so I don't tend to go light on it. And of course, it's important to use a salt that's safe for canning. And some cracked black pepper. You know, I've been consistently using this while cooking. I've decided it's time for me to start just running some black pepper through a food mill, blend it up, and have fresh cracked pepper on hand. And this is the point where I discovered what I think is an error in my book. At this point, the beef needs to be browned, but my recipe does not specify any fat, anything to cook it in. And so, of course, I went straight to the YouTube community and looked for other people cooking this meal to try to figure it out. And there were others who said that their list of ingredients for this recipe calls for 1/4 cup of olive oil. So I'm curious if this printing just had an error in it. Let me check on my date. So this is 2016 that this printing is from. If you've got this book, does yours call for olive oil? Anyhow, I'm definitely going to use olive oil. I'm not going to brown this on a dry pan. So I'm going to put 1/4 cup in and we'll go from there. We're going to work this in batches because there needs to be space in the pan in order for things to brown nicely. And the point of this step is not to cook the meat. So you can see after a minute or so, these are starting to get some nice color. I just want to get some good color on the other side, and then the next batch is going in. So it took 4 batches to get all the meat browned, but it's beautifully browned and ready now. While I was working on this, those beans also finished up. So I just drained them and they're ready to go. Now things are going to start to come together pretty quickly. So I'm going to get my pepper and onions into this pan. My peppers and onions are now softened. They've had a few minutes to cook. I'm going to add in everything else. Before I bring this back up to a boil for its final simmer, I'm going to make one addition to the recipe. My husband John is from Texas, and I was a Texan transplant for 10 years, 11 years, I forget. But we like chili. We've eaten a lot of chili, and I've never seen a chili recipe that doesn't include garlic and cumin. I know that it's safe to add dried seasonings to canning recipes, so I feel confident that adding cumin and garlic powder to this is just going to give it better flavor and make it the chili that we want. I'm going to add a tablespoon of cumin and a tablespoon of garlic powder. I'm just filling to 1 inch of headspace here. The Nesco I've found does best when I actually do a generous inch of headspace, so it's more like 1.5, 1.25 by the time I finalize this. Then it was time to wipe down the rims of my jars with a damp cloth. This was definitely not a step to skip with this particular recipe. Things got messy. And then it was time for my 4 jars lids and bands. At this point, I've shared so many videos using the Nesco canner that I'm offering just an overview here, but if you want a more step-by-step guide, check out this video of canning chickpeas. It includes everything you need to know. So I've got 4 lovely quarts here that are ready to go into the canner. John just came out of his office and kind of hopefully asked if there might be anything we could eat for lunch from this, and actually there is. Because this recipe is supposed to make 9 pints, I figured we'd have some extra with me doing 4 quarts. I am going to make sure that I simmer this extra for a little while because remember we didn't cook the meat through. So I'm going to cook it through on the stovetop and then we'll have a good lunch while these can. As a reminder, I already have my canning rack and my 2 quarts of water in here. And my pressure limiting valve is already set to exhaust from earlier, so I'm just going to close and swivel. High, 90 minutes. And start. We've hit E0. So I'm rotating to airtight. All right, time to plant potatoes. We planted potatoes together the last 2 weeks. So I shared with you planting this no-dig potato row. The leaf mulch that I used on it has really condensed down now that it's wet and it's breaking down. So I'll be adding several inches of straw on top of that. And then last week I shared with you planting in-ground potatoes, well, in my raised bed potatoes. That was the Eva potato variety. Today we're going to use a third method. This is the only one I haven't tried before, and that's laundry basket potatoes. I've seen this online several times, and I figured since I'm running out of growing space, this is an easy way to be able to fit some more potatoes into my garden plan for the year. I've got these beautiful Purple Majesty potatoes. You can't quite see the vibrancy of the color because after, it's windy out here, because after they were cut, they dried out and the colors changed. But it's a really pretty deep purple. I am a sucker for pretty and novel color varieties for veggies. So this is just going to be a simple sort of lasagna stack of straw, compost, and potatoes. I found this laundry basket at Target on sale for $5. It's pretty amazing to be able to spend $5 and add this much growing space to the garden. I get this compost in bulk from a nearby mulching company or mulching business. So my first layer of potatoes is going in. Some of these have really long eyes. This is a little more sprouted than I might have wanted, but it's got a head start. You can tell from those sprouts that it's going to be a pretty colored potato. It's really cold and windy out today, if you can't tell. So my kids did not want to come out and help with this one, but they just threw open the window to tell me they had an important question to ask. And the important question was, can little kids go to jail? Which makes me wonder what they're doing in there. I have no idea.
If you're interested in trying this yourself, it really was just a simple matter of layering straw, compost potatoes, straw, compost potatoes. 5 to 7 seed potatoes per layer are recommended. I used 6. As these potatoes sprout, the sprouts should find their way towards the holes.
And we want to end with a layer of straw and then compost to hold it all down. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I really do love sharing this work with you. If any of you have planted laundry basket potatoes, oh, it's crazy out here. Let me know how you liked it, because this is an experiment for me. I'm eager at the end of the season to see how my raised bed potatoes compare with my no-dig and my laundry basket. I wish you all the best in the week ahead. Next week I'm going to share with you some DIY pantry mixes because I have some empty jars on my shelf that need to be refilled. So take care until then. Bye.